Which brings me to my final point then. Training for Christ consciousness. I was invited to give a presentation at ITP on Saturday of last week, and I shared with the group an exercise I have myself. And I'm going to call it now Training Wheels for Christ Consciousness. So, on my birthday every year, for the last several years, I have created a document, it's about a 2-page document, where I look at my own health. And I look at it under 8 different parts. And I try to create practices and mantras for myself that will allow me to move and to develop and to be healthy in these areas. And I call them for myself Training Wheels for Christ Consciousness. I want to share with you what they are. And so I write this down on my birthday. I take it out every single morning. When I get out of bed, it's the first thing I do. I put it on the bed, it's 2 pages. I kneel beside it, and I go through it section by section, and I create an intention for myself in each of these subcategories for the day. And then on my birthday each year, I revise it and see if there are parts that I've accomplished, I can take off the list, and pieces I need to put on to the list. So it's coming up again on Friday of this week. And so, firstly, I realize that, like everybody else, I am plugged into the universe so deeply that I am a channel for love and light and life for our planet and for our times. Every single one of us is. We are plugged deeply into the universe because we are literally the divine in manifestation. So every single one of us is plugged into the universe, into the cosmic reality so deeply that we have the opportunities of being channels for this light and life for our planet, for our time. So that's the subtext. And then I look at 8 areas of health. And the first one is spirituality. And I said to myself, I want to transcend mere cultural faith and instead embrace faith in the ineffable source. So what does that mean? It means that whenever I come across a teaching, whether it's from the Catholic Church or any other source, I ask myself this question. I say to myself, if I hadn't been born a Catholic, if I'd been born some other faith system, Muslim or Jewish, whatever, and somebody told me this was a teaching, a truth, would I have accepted it? Or am I only accepting it because I was born a Catholic? So is this a cultural artifact, or is it a faith system in the ineffable source? So belief system by belief system, I'm looking at that which I'm being presented, by the mass media or by my training, by my nationality, by my religious affiliation, and I look at the belief systems that have been offered to me, and I ask myself that question. If I weren't Irish, or I weren't a Catholic or whatever, and somebody told me this, would I still believe it? If I were born into some totally other system, would I still believe that? So what I believe, for instance, if I weren't Catholic, that the Pope is infallible. No. And so do I believe the Pope is infallible? I don't. Now, if I were, for instance, Jewish, and somebody told me I was brought up to believe I was one of God's chosen people, and I asked myself the question as a Jew, if I hadn't been born Jewish, would I still believe that the Jews are God's chosen people? No. Do I believe the Jews are God's chosen people? I don't. And so one by one, I want to look at these spiritual beliefs I've acquired, by osmosis from my culture, and look at them and say, are these coming merely from a cultural tradition or from the ineffable source? So that's what it looks like to practice, I think, in a spiritual health for me. The second area would be intellectual health. And so I want to I'm inviting myself, as I'm inviting you, if you're interested in it, to try to develop an encyclopedic knowledge of the universes and their myriad forms. In other words, to put quality time into thinking and reading and writing and talking and discussing until you manage to create a cosmology for yourself that can adequately contain your unique life experiences, that make ultimate sense to you, so that everything that happens to you can be situated meaningfully inside that framework. So that's what it looks like for me, the training wheels of Christ consciousness at an intellectual level, to begin to put together your own cosmology. The third piece for me is my dream health. I've been recording my dreams since 1978. I believe that dreams are another level of reality, and that we get very important data points in our dream life from those we acquire in our allegedly waking consciousness. So I put a lot of emphasis on my dream life. And I know that when I'm dreaming, I'm in a different state of consciousness. So the very last thing I do before I sleep at night, I say to myself, I am now dissolving my ego. In order to climb aboard my astral body, I want to travel in the astral realms. I want to meet avatars and ascended masters who can heal me and who can teach me. And I want to meet sentient beings who are in distress, whom I can help in the journey. Discombobulated souls or entities who are lost somewhere in the astral planes. I want to be available to help those. And so that's what it looks like for me to look at my dream health. The realization that I'm actually experiencing other states of consciousness, other realities, and having real encounters with real beings, from some of whom I can learn and others of whom I can assist. So that's a third category. A fourth category, I look at my emotional health. And I begin to think, can I develop multi-perspectiving? Can I do some moccasin walking? Can I try to understand a situation from another point of view? And I don't just mean from another human point of view. It's not like I'm having a debate with Joss and I'm trying to figure out what Joss's perspective is. Not just that. But what would it be like to be born a daffodil? How would the experience of incarnation feel like if I were a daffodil? Or what would the experience of incarnation feel like if I were a galaxy? What would that feel like? And to try to feel into that position and experience life from those points of view. Under this emotional element as well, I think about how can I try to identify my own shadow material and work on that, and how can I accept feedback graciously from other people. So that all has to do with my emotional. And I've got a mantra in the middle of that which says, I live in total freedom, without fear, without anger, or without anxiety. I observe my monkey mind, but I neither identify with it nor even indulge it. So I'm trying to create a mantra for myself that allows me to be as healthy as possible at an emotional level. That's a fourth area. A fifth area for me is looking at my physical well-being and realizing I'm a spirit in a spacesuit. I have physical needs that I need to attend to. And so I need to sleep enough, I need to exercise regularly, and I need to look at what I'm eating, what I'm putting into my body. So am I being cognizant? What does it mean to be Christ conscious about your own physical body? What does it mean about sleeping, about exercising, and about eating? And so I try to create regimens or intentions for myself around that. Sixthly, I look at my social life or my relationships. And I want to try to see if I can be more authentic in my relationships so that I'm showing up more authentically. I'm not showing up superficially for encounters, but I'm really trying to be present to the other person, and that I'm learning to listen really well to the other person and to their viewpoint. That I'm not interested in just gossiping about other people, or not even interested that much in events, but that I'm really interested in ideas and spirituality, and that I want to be in relationships with people who are interested in spirituality as well, who are not just in relationships in order to gossip about people or to cut people down. So that would be a sixth area. Seventh area would be my financial well-being. When I hear Christ saying, give us this day our daily bread, I have a realization that every single one of us we need particular resources in order to operate in the world. All of us do. And so I want to make sure that I have the resources to survive and to do what I'm here to do, and that everybody I encounter has their resources, that everybody is welcomed to the banquet of God's largesse. And that I'm helping to create models or thinking that allow all God's creatures to sit down at the table of the Lord. That would be the seventh area. And the final area for me is the health of my own mission. What is my unique purpose this time around as Seán ÓLaoire? What have I come to do on planet Earth? And I know that, like everybody else, the major part of that mission is to try to awaken myself and others to Christ consciousness. And then I have unique gifts and unique problems and unique issues that craft me for a particular part of this journey. So let me finish with a story. There's a great teaching in the Jewish Talmud about something called the Lamed Vav. The Lamed Vav is the notion that at any stage of human history, there are 36 tzaddikim, 36 enlightened beings on the planet at any stage of human history. They may not be in contact with each other, they may not even know of each other's existence, and an individual tzaddik may not even be aware that she is a tzaddik, but she is acting as a conduit, as a source of light for the entire planet. Now, I think it's a beautiful teaching. The only thing I disagree with is the number 36. I had a really, really powerful vision years and years ago in which I saw a vision of planet Earth. And the planet was surrounded, like I can only describe it as a lattice of light workers. And what I saw was that for every line of latitude and for every line of longitude where they intersected, and at the two poles, there was a being of light stationed. And when the vision was finished, I sat down, I calculated it, I reckoned there were 64,442 of them. So if you take every line of intersection between a line of latitude and a line of longitude, and you add in the two poles, there are 64,442 light beings stationed around planet Earth. who are acting as a lattice of light workers for the further evolution of the planet. So the invitation I extend to you today and to myself today is, maybe we're not one of the 64,442 light beings, but at least we can try to be mirrors, every single one of us mirrors, so that we can deflect that light onto the planet and onto our times, so that we will choose Homo spiritualis rather than Homo sociopathicus.